So that's where, like say, the theory X person, maybe you're more directive compared to the theory Y employee.
Yeah. Can you explain the solution perceived ability?
Which version?
The last one, perceived ability.
Perceivability. Perceivability, okay, is the subordinate perceives that he or she is not able or able to carry out the task. The perceived ability to carry out the task. Some subordinates, they perceive that they cannot do the job, but actually they can. They're only lacking in confidence. So for that kind of subordinate, which leader behavior would be good? You could have a directive leader. Or maybe you could have supportive as well. So that's where, you could have supportive effect for low perceivability. So you can give some encouragement. I remember at one point in time, supportive didn't work, the end directive worked. There was a task in the past where I wasn't confident of doing, and the person said, "Oh no, I think you're capable." It didn't work. He said, "Just do it." In the end, I did it, and I thought, "No, it's not that difficult after all." So that's where perhaps the theory is a bit weak, but the idea that you need to have different behaviors. For a leader should have the whole arsenal of behaviors and choose the correct behavior for the correct situation or subordinate. And that's it.
Therefore, the exam, how will you do?
I will explain particle theory and how you apply it at work. So how to apply, you explain the way I explain it. You just go through directive and you go through, you match everyone here. You don't have to do for all four, you just take one. So like I said, you like do what I do in class, it should be okay. And how you should do, so you have different behaviors for different situations. And that's it. Okay, so that's the end of this slide.
Sir, can you upload the table that you did?
Which one?
Because I did not write it down.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
This one? Okay. Yeah. Now, the next chapter is, I'll go through them, but they are of lesser importance compared to the earlier one, and I'll cut a lot of information from the.
Last.
Oh no, I want to finish off with the leadership. Yeah, that's why I want to finish off this one. So, your leadership. No, we have power in the next class. I just want to finish off this one. Now I'll be cutting. I'll cut. This one cut.
That's all good.
This one cut. No.
Contest, we can't absorb all this material in one session.
Okay. Well.
Contest.
Okay. This one cut. Okay. Now remember we went through all the 4 boxes. I went through all the 4 boxes, right? Now we've no the box these boxes. We've gone through these 4 boxes. Now what's happening now is we're going back to the box at the top left hand corner. We're going to the box at the top left hand corner. And you're back on trade and universal. Now there's this theory on charismatic leadership. Sometimes people talk about leaders having style. Whenever they talk, people listen, That's what we mean by charismatic leadership. It often refers to in political leaders. But also Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, he was described as having charismatic leadership. Because when he talks, people are sometimes are hypnotized and they tend to agree with him. Even though later on when they leave the room, when they think about it logically, it doesn't make sense. You know? But he has this way of talking which puts people into a hypnotic trance. And again, you know, the characteristics are vision, articulation, personal risk, environmental sensitivity, sensitivity following needs, unconventional. Oh yeah, Gandhi, you know, Gandhi. He's also one of the very good examples of charismatic leadership because, well, we can go through each one. Vision and articulation, right? He has a vision of India being united, all the different faiths, Christians, Muslims, and Hindus, all united without any boundaries. That's his vision. Free from British rule, also. That's another vision. And the way that he spoke was very, captivated the audience whenever he spoke. By the way, this picture earlier, the one that I told you to erase, this is Martin Luther King, and he was famous in during that the civil rights movement, the freedom of the blacks from slavery. Personal risk, Gandhi took a lot of personal risk. Environmental sensitivity, he knows what's happening in the environment, with the people, society. He's sensitive to followers' needs. And certainly he's unconventional in his behavior. So that's what makes a person charismatic, unconventional in the behavior. So these are just explanations of what I've done. There's another one which is, there's a lot of research done in this area, transactional and transformational leadership.
Sir, what's unconventional behavior?
Unconventional behavior, okay, the explanation. Engages in behaviors that are perceived as novel and counter to norms. That means not normal. You know, Gandhi, he wears, you know, there's robes. He went to UK, people expecting somebody in a suit and tie, he goes with just that, you know, so he's certainly unconventional. So maybe lecturers should come in jeans and t-shirts. Okay, transactional and transformation leadership. This is again, I said a lot of research in this area. There's, okay, basically transactional leaders, the leaders whose behaviors are the day-to-day running of the organization. The day-to-day running of the organization. Whereas transformational leaders, from the word transform, means to change. Now, what is important to realize here is that these are not opposites of the same dimension. A good leader should have both transactional as well as transformational characteristics. A good leader should have both transactional as well as transformational characteristics. Because in every day, you have the day-to-day things. And in good organizations, there's also always change as well. So you need to have both. It's a misunderstanding to say that only transformational is important, this one is not important. It's a misunderstanding. You actually need both. Obviously, if you just have this, you know, if you're working in the government sector, in that division where there's not much change, then it's fine. But even, in government sectors, most places around the world, even government sectors, they change. Like for example, in Malaysia, there's lots of change even in the government sector. So you need also transformational leaders. So transactional leader, these are the measures. There's actually a questionnaire to measure your transactional leadership style. And a transactional leader, they do the day-to-day things like, rewards for effort, rewards for performance, and so on. And then management by exception is watches and searches for deviation from rules. So people who don't follow the rules, you take corrective action and you intervene if certain standards are not met. And the laissez-faire, which is basically avoid making decisions and you just avoid responsibility. Now, so that's transactional. For the transformation leader, according to the questionnaire, they measure according to these characteristics, which are charisma. So a transformation leader always says, for example, like, okay, Abu Dhabi University, we want to be in the top 400, we want to be a research university or one of the leading universities in whichever area. And then they inspire people, expect high performance from people, stimulates people intellectually, and then individualized consideration. They treat each employee individually and coaches and advises employees on an individual basis. So these are the measures of transformation leader. And as I said, you need to have both, and not just one. I think there's some research that showed that leaders who have both result in organizations having a higher performance. Now, visionary leadership is similar to charismatic leadership, but focusing more on vision. And this person is Michael Dell. This was way back in the past. This guy was famous because at a time when, this was in the 80s, I think, where IBM was the only famous computer, and Dell challenged IBM by rethinking the whole idea of computers, and actually he was one who came up with the idea of personal computers, and that's what we have today. And also at that time he customized the computer according to the customer's specifications rather than telling the customer what to do. So I mean, basically IBM stocks or shares fell down in price as a result of Michael Dell taking over the PC industry. Okay, this is probably more important now. Emotional intelligence and leadership effectiveness. Oh, we've covered emotional intelligence already, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So research has shown that emotional intelligence, EI, is probably more important than mental intelligence for leadership effectiveness. Leaders, they face a lot of criticism. So it's important for leaders to know who they are as a person, what's important for them. It's important for them to manage their own emotions and know how to motivate themselves despite obstacles that are happening in the environment. Good leaders also know how other people are feeling, so they're able to manage other people better. And with social skills, to talk to other people in a way that those people do what the leader wants them to do. So there's no surprise that high emotional intelligence is probably more beneficial compared to mental intelligence for leadership effectiveness. So coming back to that question, are leaders born or made? What should an organization do? Well, according to this book, the recommendation is that, first of all, organizations should select people with the natural or born intelligence first. And only after that, train. You select first people who are natural born leaders. Then, with those people, you train them to make them even better leaders. It's similar to the sports model. In sports model, how they decide which child to send to training tennis camp. They get a lot of kids in a room, and then they give them each a tennis racket, and they just throw a lot of balls in there. And then these kids will be hitting the balls, and they'll watch which child has got a natural stroke. And that child they will select and send them for training camps to make their skills even better. And in the work context, that's what